So Friday night, I was I was thinking about my plans for the weekend. It's not too often this time of year I'll end up with a weekend off. With my job, I work a lot of, I end up photographing a lot of school proms, and with prom season approaching in my area, um, I don't have a lot of time on the weekends. But somehow or another, I wound up with this weekend off. And originally my plans were to go to my local Hobbytown, USA, and compete in there by year, or I don't know how you would say, twice a year. So they have a modeling competition twice a year. I was going to enter that and you know see how things went. Last time I went, I had some fun, but I didn't really get to stick around too long. That was so to if I went this time, I would have been able to hang out and actually like meet people and stuff like that. But then I got a PM from one of my friends on Instagram asking me if I was going to Nova, and then I started seeing a lot of people posting about Nova, and money is a little bit of an issue at the moment. Work has been kind of slow, but I kind of stopped and I was like, do I really like the? Even though I've had fun the last couple times I've gone um, to my Hobbytown shows, I've basically been the only real Gundam presence there. And I'm not, one of my goals this year is to work on my local presence and the local modeling presence around me. But I thought that it might be more fun to step a little bit outside of that zone, drive another hour and a half, give or take, and go to an actual IPMS show. So, kind of spur of the moment, that's what I did. I decided this weekend that I was going to go to Nova IPMS. So, we're going to talk about that. So first things first, like I said, this was a spur of the moment decision. I took my friend Thomas with me. He was going to come with me to the Hobbytown show, and he came over the previous day. We were going to hang out and cook some food and play some video games and stuff. And I was like, Thomas, guess what? We're changing our plans. And he's like, oh, okay, what's going on? And I'm like, we're going across the bay. So we I was like, we're getting up at 5 o'clock. We're going. So 5 o'clock rolled around. Thomas came over. We departed. We got there. We stopped twice, I think. Yeah, to get gas, and then we stopped just to get some drinks and stuff. Stopped at a couple places. We got there a little before 9. We got through registration. I was not prepared for registration at all. Turns out you can do your whole entry forms and stuff online, and then you just bring them in and you're good to go. So we got through registration. They pointed us in the right direction, which way we were supposed to take our models and stuff like that. I brought 9 kits with me to enter. And I started setting the table up. Well, when we got there, I couldn't find the table. That was the first thing. I could not find where the Gundam category was. It was like it's 301A or something, 304A, something like that. So we went down because it was like when you first walked in, it was 10 or 100 and then 101. So we just assumed we're back this way. So we went all the way to the back of the room. I didn't know how many categories there were. And we're like, oh, this is like 500. So we need to go back this way a little bit. So we came around and I happened to just kind of out of the corner of my eye, I caught a 00 Sky Gundam. I don't know who did it, but if you watch this, let me know and I'll drop a link to you down below. But I found it, and we started setting up. And our area was really small. I'm talking like we had literally like this much space. And when I brought 9 kits, I wasn't going to bring it, but people wanted to see it, so I ended up bringing the unicorn bust. When that's on the table, you run out of space really quickly. I tried to bring a lot of like 1144 stuff, But my goal was to put as much stuff on the table as I could bring. Um, so, um, you know, when I was filling out my registration forms, I ran into a couple of friends from Instagram. I ran into Nickel Models. I ran into Roku Pla, Pointless Hero. He's a member of the Mosh Pit. If you guys are not a member of Gundam Mosh Pit, you should check them out. It's a really nice Discord community. Highly recommend them. But saw them standing in line. I think they traveled together, and we hooked up like as soon as they got through registration. We set up, and then it was about that time Tim showed up with he brought Airdrop, which seeing that in person was phenomenal. He brought the Verlogic, which was really cool to see again. I've seen it, I've held it. It's a really cool model. He brought the Blue Destiny, and he brought the Hummingbird, but there was not enough space to set that up. So shortly after that, our friend Nick showed up, Macho Models. And then we had a couple of other people that I'd never met before. Gunpla Princess was there. Install Cruise, I'll try and link everybody down below. But the point is, I met a ton of really awesome builders that I've known online for a while now, and it was really cool meeting everybody. I don't know. I feel like I didn't talk to people enough, and I kind of feel bad about that. But once we put all the stuff down, I just kind of wandered a little bit. I wanted to see what was going on. Nick mentioned that there was a seminar going on. I can't remember the guy's name. If I can remember it, I'll put it up here on the screen somewhere. What his name was, but he did like a thing about. I think the whole point of the seminar was to kind of give yourself at least a mental idea of what you want to accomplish on your model before you even start painting it. So think about it, and then he tries to visualize as many of the steps that he can before he even starts. And he might even like download like a little thing, like a picture of the model kit, and he'll draw over it and give himself actual visual reference. And then he tries to minimize the amount of work he has to do once he starts working. And like listening to him talk was a lot of fun. Like it kind of gives you another perspective on the hobby as a whole. And then he actually came out and hung out with us for a little bit, and was like hanging out at our table and talking about our work. And like these guys really I think that the big push from us is finally coming to an end, where like we're finally starting to be a little bit more recognized as the next step in what scale modeling is going to be. And we're finally starting to see that people are understanding that and respecting that a little bit. Another thing is, this year we had, from what I'm told, the biggest Gundam presence that they ever had. One of the guys that was competing said that he came one year and he was the only Gundam kit. Sometimes they won't even have a Gundam category, and you might see one pop up in sci-fi somewhere, but ultimately you don't really see too much. So with that, I wandered around a lot. I'm gonna post a big slideshow and post some photos and stuff after all this. I didn't get as many pictures I would have liked to, but I took as many as I could think to. It was really crowded in there most of the day. So yeah, like I said, after we set models down, we wandered around just a little bit to check out the vendors, and then we went and watched the seminar. And then after that, we had lunch. Or no, that's when Jacob showed up, Cupcake Mecca. He's one of my best friends. And then we had lunch. We ate there. I think some of the guys left and then came back later. We And then I wandered. I took a lot of pictures of some of the kits that I really thought were cool. I took pictures of some of the vendor tables. There was like a little area where somebody had like boxes of parts that were left over from their models that they were just giving away if you wanted to pick up, like, oh, if you needed some wheels, or if you needed like suspension bars and stuff like that. There was stuff that you could just take, and I thought that was really cool. There was a guy doing like paper craft, and he had like these massive paper buildings, and like I used to do paper craft, and seeing like he did one of like I don't know, there was just a ton of buildings that were they were huge, and they were made just out of paper. And
how did you do that? How did you do that? How did you do that? How did you do that?
so, you know, one of the cool things to me was, there was a lot of different kinds of models and modeling represented at this show. Now, like, the papercraft guys didn't have like a table or anything like that. It was just a guy who came and he did papercraft models, and he had I'll put a video, but you know, he had tons and tons of stuff. He had like a little Gundam, he had like a little Zagok, he had some like the Mystery Machine, some cars, all the way up to big buildings. There was like a Lego area that had like, there was like this pretty big train set. There were train modelers that were set up just to display, as well as you know, competing. There were all kinds of models. Now, in the actual competition, and this is the only real criticism I had, was when we got to judging. It seems like there's like 8 million different categories for planes, which was really funny to me. Not that I'm knocking it or anything. It was just like, it just seemed like when you're like, okay, yeah, they've done like 8 plane categories, then like another one will pop up and you're like, what? So that was kind of funny to me. But there were a lot of planes. There was also a lot of tank models. There was a couple ships. They were really nice to look at. I'm not really into boats at all, but those ship models are crazy. I really respect the dudes that do that. The guys that do all the work on the on the planes. Me and Tim wandered around. We spent like, there was like one point we spent like 5 or 6 minutes per model, like just staring at these planes. They were immaculate. They looked so good. And that's like a discipline that even he said, he's like, I don't know if I could do something like this. And I think he could, but you know, that's Tim. But he's like, nah, he's like, I gotta customize stuff. And I'm like, I could see that, but you know. So, but as I was wandering around, one example would be there was the it's a movie prop replica model. From what I understand, you can either order it in pieces. You'll get like a little magazine, and you'll get like a handful of parts, and you can start assembling this thing. Or you can buy the whole thing outright. And buying it outright, it costs you, it's like $1,400. It's ridiculous. But you get this giant movie scale Millennium Falcon with lights. It's got a motorized deck where they walk into the ship. There's like fiber optics and lights everywhere. It's was a really cool thing to see. And this guy, like, we were walking around looking at stuff, and I was just taking pictures, and this guy was just like talking to us about it, and like it was phenomenal. Like, everybody was really like welcoming, and like, I don't know if they knew that we were the Gundam people there or what, but like, people, like, I set my stuff up and people were like immediately coming over and like taking pictures of our stuff. and that was really cool to me. So I think next year I'm gonna put out like some little things for like Helios and maybe some Gundam communities and stuff like that for people who are interested in checking those things out. But you know, I just had a really good time. I met with Chaz. Nick introduced me to Chaz.
Because I'll either make videos and show people, this is how I do this is what I do, this is, and I'll pick stuff up, but I'll go out and look for this stuff.
And I watched their video when they did the Richmond IPMS, I think it was. He stood out front, like at judging, and was like, this is the future of what scale modeling is going to be. These guys need, to be welcomed with open arms. And getting to shake that man's hand and like talk to him, we kind of talked for a few minutes, and he was a really cool guy. He was very respectful of where we are in the hobby and what we do, and there's definitely a little bit of a gap where like I don't think it's as much of a gap as people think it is, but like I just think that we're from two different realms, and people look at what we do as separate things, and what we do isn't that different, really. There are differences in technique, and there's differences in medium, obviously, but for the most part, everything we're doing is the same. When you buy a tank model, when you buy a plane model, when you buy a car model, it comes on sprues, it comes in pieces. You need to prep those pieces, you need to paint that model, and you need to do different effects and things to get that model to where you want it, and that's no different with any hobby. Again, it's just the medium. The only true difference is that really we're not really too much different than the sci-fi guys, because what we have doesn't actually exist. I guess it's just where it comes from a cartoon. It took a little longer to bring it into the fold. I'm not really sure what it is, but but like I said, chatting with Chaz was awesome. He's really excited to have us on board, and he's really excited to pull us in, and hopefully we can keep moving forward with them. He's a really cool guy, and hopefully I get to meet him again at the next IPMS. So that's really all I have to talk about. I'm going to try and keep this as short as I can, while still putting my slideshow and stuff in here. But I do want to tell you guys, man, please, if you have an IPMS event in your area, even if you just snap build your models, even if you only build Gundams, even if you don't care about competing, come out and bring some kits on the table and start pushing that presence, even if you have to enter in sci-fi. If you guys stack those tables up, they will make categories for you. This is the next step in what scale modeling is going to be. And it's not just Gundam, it could be frame arms, it could be, any kind of modeling. Whatever you're interested in, bring it out there. I had such a good time, and I know that not all IPMS chapters are as welcoming of the Gundam community, but if you don't try, you'll never know. So the last thing I do want to show you guys is some of the stuff I picked up. Excuse me. I watched Tim's stream the night before the show, and I was laying in bed, and I was just like, super early. And Tim was prying some pieces apart on his Zaku shield for his GBWC entry, and he was like, "Yeah, I use this plastic magic, and it really gets those parts down." So I found this. I've been looking for this for a long time. Last time I saw this was when we taught a class in Jersey, and someone bought the last model before I could. So I found this. I bought it. It was $9. Apparently it retails for about $7 or $8, so I don't mind the little bit of upcharge on it, but this was a must-have for me. Another thing I saw, that this comes recommended from our very good friend, GBWC champion Win. We chat a lot, and he recommended me the oil brushers, so I picked up a few just for weathering. I got dark brown, I got dark blue, I got dark mud, I got buff, and I got earth. I figure I'd give these a spin, see how they do. Try them weathering something. I'm not really sure what yet. They didn't have rust, so I did pick up just some MIG effects. I got the streaking rust effects. Excuse me. I picked up the MIG US Army Modern paint set. I want to try this out. I'm not going to be painting anything in this exact color scheme. I just tried my best to color match some of the colors that I would need for this project. I picked up my first actual tank. So I picked up the German battle tank, the Leopard 1A5. This is a Meng model. I built the what are they called? The toon tanks or tiny tanks or something like that. I think Meng manufactures those as well, and the quality on them is phenomenal. I have a lot of friends that are really pretty well versed in tank and army models and stuff like that, and they say that Meng is a good brand. I also saw that this included clear parts. It included some rope, and it also had photo etch parts included in the box. So that was kind of a no-brainer for me. Is everything's here. This is what I need to get started. So this is what I'm going to build. I popped it open. I have no idea how to close this box. I opened it up, and everything was in here kind of weird. And then I took everything out and looked at it, and when I put it back, it didn't fit quite back in the box, so it's a little bit of a lift there. But I'm very excited to build this. It's going to be really cool. And another thing about going to IPMS is I'm more motivated than I've ever been. I did not win any kind of trophies or awards or anything like that, but that was not the point for me. I just wanted to stack the table up. I wanted to bring a bunch of kits. I wanted to show that Gundam is a real thing. It's a actual medium in scale modeling, and I think that we definitely showed that. So I'm gonna leave my slideshow here. Big ups to my patrons for this month. We've got Andy, we've got Gil, we've got SD, who just upgraded his pledge. Thank you so much. We've got Rex, and we've got Nick, Macho Model. So thank you guys so much for all the support. I'll see you guys in the next video. I promise the next video will be actually modeling related, not discussion or anything like that. Although I do have some more discussion related videos to shoot your way. This was a really incredible event. Please go check out your IPMS chapters. Keep building, guys. See you later.
All right, so we're at IPMS Nova. We're hanging out here. So what's some of our initial impressions? What do we think?
Everything that I know or thought I knew is not what I knew.
You red-pilled a little bit, right?
A little bit. I
Tim.
mean, it's just you know, everything's changed now. The whole goal different.
That's dope. That's dope. Tim, what are some of your?
I mean, I'm straight deer in headlights right now, you guys. Because like this is my first IPMS event. I didn't know what to expect, and like it's crazy right now. So you should come to these things, you guys. Especially if you only like build Gundams and stuff, you should still come.
Words of wisdom. Let me give you guys a quick preview of the table. I'm sure you've seen. It's looking pretty good. We had a number of entries here. I don't know what the final count is, but it's almost noon. Pencils are almost down, so we'll come to you guys when we have some more updates. But yeah, life's good.